Welcome back to Chiefs Fans Before We Were Cool, a podcast by people who are Chiefs fans 100%, but are cool maybe only 7%.
7%, man. We're the 7%ers, you know.
We are the 7%,
So the 90, oh no, we should be the 8%ers. So the
8%.
92%ers,
Yeah, we're the 8.
we're the other 8%. For those of you who don't know, that's a reference to the tush push, the success rate. Um, and That was the Kelsey podcast
Yeah, that's what they
name.
call their fans, the
They call their
92%.
fans. So, yeah, so we're the other 8% that don't succeed.
The
Uh,
uncool crew down the back, the t-shirt could say the other 8%.
the other 8%. Absolutely. Love it. Put that on
Well,
a t-shirt.
we got a name now,
Wear
we
it
got a
proudly.
slogan. Man.
We got a slogan. We got merchandise. Here we come.
The best things
Uh,
that we ever say in this podcast are things that we have no plan about talking about ahead of time.
no plan, no thing there. So yeah, but we did plan. Speaking of things we planned to talk ahead of time, let's talk about the Chiefs game.
Yeah.
Chiefs
Oh
game,
man.
which we definitely planned on. So I guess it can't be the best part of our podcast, but it must be part of our podcast, or else that would be kind of a weird
Yeah.
podcast. The Chiefs fan podcast where we don't talk about Chiefs games.
It's like all we talk about is a bunch of fans that we painted with Chiefs colors.
Oh,
Alrighty. So we had a football game this week,
we did.
and it was more than 8% of a game. It was 100% of a game,
Yep.
but
And we won
we won.
100% of the game.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. Super exciting. It was a good game. I was a little nervous about it. I even took Mahomes out of my fantasy lineup for my playoff championship. He ended up scoring exactly the same amount of points. Well, he scored like zero point 0.7 more than the other guy that I put in. So,
So if you
you
lose
know,
by point 0.7, you kind of deserve
well, I
it.
did lose. I lost by
Oh,
three,
oh,
but
okay.
thankfully not by the zero point 0.7 because that would have been real. That would have felt real
That would have
bad.
been,
You
oh,
doubted Mahomes, and it cost you a finals. You know,
well, and
a football
honestly,
fantasy finals berth.
it probably would have been 1 point more if it wasn't for kneeling at the end of the game.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
other quarterback also had to kneel though, so
Okay.
you know
Okay.
how it
So
goes.
it rounds out.
That needs to be taken out of fantasy. I mean, that's kind of a random thing to be kind of passionate about, but I'm like, look, sacks don't give you negative yards. Why on earth are we making quarterbacks lose yards
Yeah.
for kneeling at the end of a game? It makes no
Also,
sense.
everybody who has Josh Allen in their team is going to disagree with this, but they need to find a different way to score laterals because you should not throw a touchdown and get a receiving touchdown unless the ball was batted to you and you caught it. Like, it should be, I don't know how you count it,
Oh, did he
but
get double counted for
it
that?
got double counted for that.
That's so
Yeah.
funny.
So it didn't
Oh
hurt
well,
me at
I mean,
all, but
it's not going to show up again. So,
yeah.
but yeah, no, it's crazy, man. And I mean, you have Mahomes, and he's like the best quarterback, but he doesn't score the way Josh Allen does. So he does, fantasy is made up, and that's
I
what I tell
saw,
myself to make myself feel better when I lose.
yeah.
Uh,
I saw something today on a Chiefs page that
yeah,
going back to because everyone's like, oh, their offense isn't doing as much, but going back to the Super Bowl against the Eagles. So
yeah.
35 games, the Chiefs have not let opponents score over 30 points, I think it is. Um, which is incredible. And it shows like, yeah, well, I guess if your defense holds people to less than 30, you don't need to score more than 30 very often.
Right. And
So,
one of the things is about that, that people just don't understand is, my brother actually pointed me to this actually, but that they just don't do very many drives, right? The Chiefs do less drives than other teams, so we don't win by a lot of touchdowns, but we're also doing on average, 4 or 5 less drives than the Bills say, and so they score, an extra couple touchdowns, like the difference would be bigger,
yeah,
right? So we won by 8 points. Hypothetically, you'd have an extra few drives, you'd win by 12 points. I know
yeah.
that's not exactly how the scoring would work, but like you can kind of expect something like that.
It's like they're not
Um,
necessarily scoring on a higher percentage of drives or by very much higher.
Right. Well,
Um,
everybody's just playing too high, and they're just taking what the defense gives them.
yeah,
Now, some of it that I am nervous about, I think I mentioned that last week, is that Mahomes' downfield throws have not looked very good. Now, this game
yeah.
we had a couple more, shots at it. Still not super consistent. I don't have any brother wonders, but I have a brother-in-law wonders.
Okay,
you know,
okay,
for the
yeah.
holidays. And one of the questions was, well, why does Mahomes seem so inconsistent? Um, and I think it's kind of, I don't know, like,
Well,
what do you
and I
feel
think
about
part of
that?
it, I was actually thinking about this week. I was like, earlier on, we
Or
talked
maybe
about
there's,
how
yeah,
Mahomes was in kind of a slump, but honestly, his last 8 games, while he hasn't had last 8 games, he's done like I think 10 touchdowns to 2 interceptions or something like that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's true.
and also we have running backs who score, which is something we've struggled with for a long time. But I'll say this, I think some of his passes look bad, but like in the replays, some of it is because Mahomes is a player like Mahomes and Kelsey, for example, right? Kelsey doesn't always run the route as on paper, right?
Yeah,
And so I remember this one to I think it was on the sideline to Hollywood Brown maybe.
yeah,
And he was wide open and Mahomes overthrew him. But I think the other thing is you see Hollywood Brown slow down to kind of stay like in the zone and give space. And I think Mahomes expected him to just keep streaking downfield.
yeah.
And so like that's
I
a
noticed that as
that's the
well.
thing that's like,
Mhm.
yeah, like is that Mahomes' fault? I guess you could say it's Mahomes' fault, but it's like in a sense it's just a miscommunication on what they
Yeah,
expected each other to do, you know?
yeah. So yeah, that's right. He maybe is a little bit more anticipatory and not having a receiver like Tyreek, where you played together for a long time, who has
Yeah.
the physical abilities to, run down balls and things like that. Like, that's a
Yeah.
long time ago at this point, but like maybe there's a level where he's expecting players to be a little bit more cerebral than he has, or just that's working right now. Like you said, maybe there's just a
Yeah.
connection, miscommunication kind of thing going on.
And so yeah, his deep balls haven't looked great, but to be completely fair, last season, we had very few that connected, and a lot of those were not on Mahomes. A lot of those were on receivers. So
Right.
like it's getting back to that is not necessarily super easy. And honestly, like again, this season, there were several times where there was really good deep balls, but we had like Worthy was not keeping
Yeah, didn't
track of
put
the
his feet
boundary
in.
very well, didn't get both feet in, lots of things like that. Whereas, oh man, Hopkins showed why he's a pro with one of his. There's like that toe tap in. It's like, oh boy, you're like,
Yeah.
that's a thing of beauty right there. But that's kind of my thought.
Cool.
Sorry, I went on a lot about that, but I don't know what you're thinking.
No, I mean I agree. Right. When you're talking about Worthy, I was like rookie mistake.
Which is okay when you're a rookie.
It's just okay because he's a rookie. Yeah, he's also very young. I think we forget that sometimes with
Yeah,
Xavier Worthy. Like he is very, very young. He might be very, very good for the next 4 years, right?
yeah,
Could be excellent. And if Rasheed Rice is able to get back to form and do some of the stuff he did underneath, man, that'll be pretty amazing. But yeah, I'm not. I thought this was a good, complete game
yeah,
with the Texans. Our offensive line has struggled. I think they found a way to make it okay,
yeah,
like passable, and that's all you need with Mahomes. So with Tooney out left, Caliendo interior. They even played Wanye Morris on the right side for a little bit, which was okay. Apparently, Juwan Taylor, it was more maintenance. They just, with a short week, they were being cautious.
yeah,
So probably should be back. But in any case, our line played all right. And we were able to get the passes options. Like it seems like we're only now, because of some of the offensive line issues, we're only now able to try to do these long passes, like in a way where he's not under a lot of duress when he's doing it.
yeah.
And so I think there's some improvement there, and the Chiefs just seem like it's a machine, right? They go down the field, they score a good most drives,
Their third
they take a
down
lot of
conversion
time off the
rate is
clock.
really good.
Yeah. So I think the offense is doing great. The defense has looked great since Who came back. Solid. I mean, the Texans, you got to feel for Tank Dell. That was awful.
Yeah.
And
Honestly, I just say it is so impressive that he held on to that pass, all
Yeah.
things considering. I was
Yeah, no
like,
kidding. Like
man,
if you meant like what's going on to his knee in the middle, in the midst of that, he just clings
yeah,
to it, calls for the people right away. You can obviously see Jay Stroud is emotional. So maybe there's a level where, it was just hard for the Houston Texans to come back from that. Um, people respond different ways. Win it for Tank Dell kind of attitude, but sometimes it's just too much.
yeah,
Especially with how emotional it felt like CJ Stroud is. I mean, I've heard he's very good friends with Tank Dell, and that's
yeah,
just awful, awful to have your good friend go through after all the work they went to play again this year. So, the Texans, they're really feisty. They have their own offensive line issues. If they get those figured out, CJ Stroud really does look very elite,
hmm,
and they could be good. I don't know. I feel kind of similar to him as I do Jordan Love. I think there's a level to which they're really, really good, but it's going to be inconsistent.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
my fantasy team actually, just again, itty match. You could point to a million things. Them not kicking a field goal, Texans not going for the field goal at the halftime might have cost me, like, because if they make the field goal, I win my game, and if they miss it, I lose 1 point. But if they make it, I get like 5 points. So
yeah,
I think it was going to be like 60 some yards. Did they say? Did you catch? Um,
yeah.
it,
I don't remember what it
I
was,
think it would have
but
been like 50, like low 60s. At least into the
yeah, I
50s.
think it
They
was
were
in
on
the
the 40-yard
50s
line.
because they said something like his record is 61 or something like that. I think like his
Oh, but they
longest, but
and
he
so they
there's
just
like,
decided. Oh,
yeah,
and it was longer than that.
no, they're like it'll
Yeah.
be maybe it's like 55, 56 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't seem like it would be that long. I was just so surprised with that kicker who has um, good long distance kicking accuracy. He's actually more accurate long distance than short distance. That they wouldn't go for the field
Yeah,
goal. But the Chiefs, I feel like the Chiefs make people do silly stuff sometimes.
yeah, yep. Well, and
So
honestly, one thing that was good to see is it was like against the Browns, the Chiefs defense got a taste for what turnovers were like. And it's like, we were at 10 on the season going to the Browns game, and
yeah,
next two we have 8.
yeah,
Um, which with 0 turnovers, right?
yeah,
Um, so like our team is getting hot at the right time. And going back to your point about the Chiefs having few drives, I wonder if that's part of the plan of like if you take longer drives, your defense comes out fresher.
yeah,
Like, and I mean,
yeah,
obviously we take shots downfield occasionally too, but like, I feel like our defense struggled, a few years ago, but it was also like it's hard to play defense when the offense scores in 30 seconds every time. Like, you know, um, but yeah,
yeah. So yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's how I felt. I think, a couple years ago, or, a few years ago, our defense was so bad. I was like, well, like they're going right back on there, when you had Tyreek and everything. Like, I don't think the defense was that bad. It just hard to play good defense when the offense scores so quickly.
yeah,
There's a level where just the time and the spacing, and you feel that right at the end of the game. Another game that I'm gonna just talk about all the things that happened for my fantasy team, but the Cowboys game at the end of it, they played prevent defense and they ended up basically giving a touchdown drive to Baker Mayfield, which also ended my game. Just like they were 2 scores up, so like you're supposed to play it that way, but they also just did it very poorly. Like
yeah,
they let them score in like a minute and a half. Like you're just like come on, people! You've been
yeah,
playing your normal defense and they have not scored at all. I don't know how you feel about that. I still feel like you just play your normal defense. Like you're already doing too high. Like you're already like really limiting the amount of deep balls the other person can throw.
hmm,
And so like what do we do? Again, they're way smarter than me. They have a job for a reason. But like just as a fan,
yeah,
and again, maybe particularly salty because of personal experiences that have nothing to do with real life, real football. But like it just seems like those drives, because they did the exact same thing at halftime. Baker Mayfield got a different touchdown because they were like, "Oh yeah, I've got to play prevent. Don't let him get the big play." And it was like, "Okay, you just gave him like three, 5 medium plays, and now they're
Yeah.
scoring. Like, it's like, okay,
Yeah. My
people.
dad always says prevent defense prevents you from winning, like the team
Yeah,
using it. Yeah.
yeah. The
Like,
Cowboys almost fumbled the game and lost anyway. Like
mhm.
they had a shot. That's just like, come on, like, what are y'all doing? Anyway, whatever, man. It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. Everyone's fine.
Yeah.
But the Texans game, yeah, I think that it was a good bounce back. I feel very confident. Mahomes ran right from the get go. I bet he was. I think there's a level where maybe he was just trying to prove to people, hey, don't try to like, you know, sag off. Like don't try to like take advantage of my ankle with your defense. He's like, I'll still book it straight. He'll still run the straight line, and he doesn't have he's not going to have lateral running, right?
Yeah.
But he'll go. He'll go
Yeah. I
straight and
saw
get the yards.
maybe the worst take I've ever seen from like a sports person this week, which was basically like Mahomes is going to fall off really bad when he's in his 30s because he's got the weakest ankles I've ever seen. And it's like he's like he always gets injured. It's like, dude, he always gets injured in the ankles and then still is better than everybody else. Like
Yeah,
it's like, you step out of bed wrong and you can't walk. Mahomes is like gets to like 500 stone players, on his self and then still is fine. So,
yeah. I mean, it does seem like he does a lot of exercises and things specifically for that. We talked about that last time, but
yeah.
so maybe there's something to it. I don't know science behind that. Maybe he's cyborg.
Mhm.
He's got cyborg ankles. So the
Yeah.
ankler strikes again.
The ankler strikes again.
So in any case, but yeah, I think there's some good games. What are your thoughts about like the rest of the year? AFC one seed.
Yeah.
We got
Honestly, I couldn't get the game in my area, but I was like, check the score at halftime of the Bills game, and I was like, oh. And like
right.
it is a division game, so I was like, there's a chance. Um, I'll say this. One thing I'm really happy about is that the four teams that have a short week this week are all
Mhm.
teams that also played on Saturday. So
Yeah,
the Steelers played the Ravens, and we played the Texans on Christmas Day. We're playing the Steelers, and the Ravens are playing the Texans. And so, like,
yeah.
one thing I'm glad about is it's kind of equal footing in that. Now, granted, we get
Oh,
like
okay. Hmm.
3 more hours of rest than uh, the Steelers get, right? Because our game was the early game. Um, I feel pretty good about the Steelers. I think like okay, I think TJ Watt is the best rusher we'll be gone against the last few games, although Myles Garrett is
Yeah,
probably in the same caliber, right? Our offensive line held up decently against two really good pass rushes. Um, so I feel pretty good about the Steelers game. Um, in a sense, I would say if we were going to drop one of the two games from a perspective of being like which team I'd be more nervous about, it's the Steelers. But at the
yeah,
same time, division games late in the season are always trouble, right? And so the Broncos in that it's like a Broncos would be a really like, an upset game. Like,
yeah.
but I feel pretty good with how our team has played the last 2 weeks against the Steelers.
Right.
And if we win on Christmas, we don't have
Yeah,
to make an effort on
yeah,
so that would be my favorite path. Um, I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. I mean, obviously the one seed is ideal, but we're in the playoffs, and that's all that really matters.
yeah.
So I don't know. What are your thoughts about the rest of the season?
Here's hypothetical.
Okay.
What if we lose to Pittsburgh Christmas Day, and then we have a choice of letting the Bengals get in the playoffs or treating Denver as our bye and
Yeah.
playing our backups and letting the Bengals not be the 7th seed? Because even if you get the 1 seed, right? Like,
Right.
you easily run into them.
Well, and so the Bengals would need the Broncos to lose out, but they also need the Dolphins and the Colts to both lose one more game.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Like again, I don't know if we'll know that by that
So
time,
yeah,
probably,
so
but
hypothetically, I mean, I'm never about intentionally throwing a game by
yeah,
like that you need. Especially
yeah,
because it's like if it was the thing where we're like tied with the Bills and if we won and they lost. It's like,
Yeah,
it's if we lose this week, no matter what, if we win next week, we get the first seed, right?
correct.
And
We still
so
control
I
them.
would I would still say the home field advantage is nice. It's obviously not necessary.
Yeah,
So I'm not. Even though as much as I like to, as much as I feel like the Bengals don't really deserve to make the playoffs with how their defense has been playing, I'm
yeah,
not really that nervous about the Bengals. Like they could knock off anybody, but their defense is also so bad they can get knocked off by anybody.
yeah. That's true.
So
I would just not like to be the person
yeah,
get.
that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, that was just a thought I had, but yeah, I mean, we're in a nice spot, obviously. Just win one of the next two, and we're gold.
Yeah,
So looking forward to that. Hopefully, getting that one seed again. And like I said, I think we just play close to the competition because we know we can win, and
yeah,
we're not gonna give a game away. Trying to score up, run up the score. So like how we play. I like how it's looking. Pittsburgh, just had a pretty bad loss to the Ravens. So
yeah,
we'll see which one shows up. It's a really good defense. I'm not too worried about Russell Wilson. I think some of his warts have been showing up a little bit more recently. Um,
yeah,
so, if Pickens, I think it's a big deal Pickens plays for him. Like, that's been a big deal for the last 3 games. He has that
yeah.
Pickens.
I
But
feel like whoever wins the turnover battle will have a really good chance of just winning the game. Obviously,
yeah,
that's like normal, but like
yeah,
Um, it's crazy to me that now there's also a lot of other possibilities where it doesn't end up this way, but it's crazy that it's very likely three AFC West teams make the
yeah,
playoffs, or
yeah.
there's still a chance for it to be three AFC North teams. Um, but like I don't think any of us thought three AFC West teams would make the playoffs this year. Um,
Yeah,
so that's pretty. I mean, the fact that we're 5-0 in the division when that's
yeah,
the case is pretty cool.
yeah.
So, yeah. Have you ever watched Christmas football before?
I have
Last year. Yeah.
last year in Kansas, and we lost.
But you're not in
I
Kansas
watched the Super
anymore.
Bowl in Tampa, the Tampa Super Bowl, and we lost.
Yeah.
And I'm not in Kansas for this holiday, though. So
Thank you for
um, safe.
sacrificing for,
We are safe from
yeah.
making the Chiefs lose on Christmas.
Yep. It should
Sorry, I
be
have a
a good
dog.
game. I'm going to be watching with my wife's family who are all Steelers fans.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I'm, I'm just hoping that I get to comfort them. You know, I won't I
for me,
won't
my
cheer too
Pittsburgh fans.
loudly. I won't cheer too
Yeah,
loudly. I'm just hoping that I can tell them, you know what, though,
yeah.
the Steelers are really good and like pat them on the back at the end of the game.
Okay, I'm gonna end with this thought, and it's again, I've complained about my loss in my fantasy thing twice. This third time. The other thing that really annoyed me about the fantasy league was the Browns offense gets a 66-yard rush from Jerome Ford. He gets tackled at the 1 yard line, and then it was him or somebody fumbled the football, and so it goes from getting 7 points for the Browns against the Bengals defense to giving them 3 more points, and that also would have been the difference in my fantasy football matchup. Like, come on, people. Browns are so nuts. And so somebody, like, I kind of made a joke about it in our chat for the league, and somebody was like, "Look, if you're gonna have grievances about Browns dysfunction, uh, you're gonna you're gonna have issues for a long time." And I
Yeah.
was like, "But you know what? There are a lot of people I know out there who get really annoyed and upset every time the Chiefs win." And so I think it's only fair.
Yeah.
I have my own set of unfulfilled expectations.
Yep. With that in mind, I feel like I need to record this part. Welcome back to the Eric's Fantasy Football Podcast after he was winning.
Oh man. Oh, it hurts. There were some
Yeah.
painful ones. Puka going 45 yards of my other league, 45
Yep.
yards,
Yeah. Do you
which
know do you know what else is painful in leagues?
What?
Do you know what else is painful in leagues is when
Missing the playoffs because of points.
yeah, when it's an 8-person league and 5 teams are 8-5 and 3 teams are 4-9, and you're the only one who misses the playoffs because you didn't score enough points as a eight
Hey,
and five team.
at least it was based on points, though.
That's true.
The worst is when you don't get in the playoffs and you scored more points than everybody else
That's true.
in the
That's true.
league. Because that didn't happen to me
Yeah.
last
So
year.
basically, what I figured out is I won a lot of close games and I got blown out of the water in the games I lost because I
Right.
think
Or
actually,
yeah. Well,
like,
it's only about points four. It's only about
yeah,
points four.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, my point differential
Yeah.
is I scored almost 100 less points than I had scored on me over
Yeah.
the season, which
Fantasy
is,
football is a crazy thing, man. It's a
yeah.
crazy thing. But you know what? I eat some humble pie, and then have a big old crow with the Chiefs as we continue to
You know
dominate
what, though?
everybody.
And I was thinking about this, even though you had to get knocked out of our league in the playoffs by your brother, I thought it was probably nice in that you wouldn't have won if you had been playing the other game too, right? That's always frustrating when
No,
you score like the second
yeah,
highest and you lose. Like that's like the
yeah.
worst.
No,
So
my team flopped a bit. It was all right.
yeah.
Cooper Cup. I love Cooper Cup, but he
So
failed me so
yeah, for real.
hard.
Um, once the regular season's over and fantasy football ends, what like are you gonna start doing fantasy watching grass grow or something like that?
I stick to what it is. I stick to the 4 months. Just kind of like I don't really get into a lot of other sports. Like I'll watch some March Madness games occasionally.
Yeah.
But like I can't because I just don't have time. Busy life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So busy
So
world, and so I can kind of deal with being a little distracted, a little bit busy, a little bit heartbroken. Uh,
yeah.
through
And
for 4 months, and then I can go do other things.
it's also nice as like a Chiefs fan when the season ends because like it's I love football, but it's like when you go so deep into the postseason every year, it's just a lot of
Yeah.
time, like
Man, I bet everybody listening to this who are not Chiefs fans feel so sorry for us right now.
they're like yeah, they're like, man, it must be exhausting watching football in February and caring about it. Like
Well,
uh,
here's a shout out to all you non-Chiefs fans.
uh
All right, talk to you later. Let's
talk
go
to you
Chiefs.
later. Go
Have a great
Chiefs.
Christmas, right?
Thanks.
Let's
Yeah,
have
Merry
the
Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Let's win another one. Just to make all those people who, for some reason, do not love themselves, hate themselves, and want to
If
be
we win
mad every
on
time the
Christmas
Chiefs win.
Day, send a Christmas card with Taylor Swift to everybody you know.
That sounds like a deal. Sounds like
All
a
right.
deal. All
See you
right.
next time.
See ya.